In Kentucky, we don't just take chances, we bet big. This month, I'm sitting down with 4 Kentuckians who made 4 bold moves and asking one question: what was the biggest bet that you ever took on yourself? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Town & Country Ford. No matter where life's adventures lead you, Town & Country Ford is along for the ride. How do you make that jump from pharmaceuticals to bourbon?
I am going to take time off and really explore.
What does Conor want to do?
And I'm still close friends with a lot of the people I worked with.
Arrive at Brown-Forman is no small feat.
What's next? The Yankees just called and I said no.
People look to you for leadership.
Yeah, there's a very close connection with the people who founded the business, the people who own the business.
My first guest is Conor O'Driscoll. He is the Master Distiller at Heaven Hill Distillery, the man responsible with overseeing some of the most iconic brands under that particular label. And Conor, it is so great to have you here.
Claudia, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
When in doubt, talk about bourbon.
Exactly.
That's what I'm learning, like everything.
Thing, yeah.
You know, listening to your voice here in I'm from the South, so I can say, so I know you're not from Tennessee.
That's right.
And I know you're not from Kentucky.
Tell me
about a little bit further east. Tell me about, and I think that's always the place I like to begin, is tell me about where you grew up and how in the world that journey landed you here smack in the middle of Bourbon Country.
So the elevator pitch is they put an Irishman in charge of the whiskey. So I don't know if I'm living the dream or living the stereotype, but so far it's working. No, I grew up in Dublin in Ireland. Went to school there. I'm a chemical engineer by training. Started my career in pharmaceuticals over there. I was working for Pfizer. They sent me to Terre Haute, Indiana, a place I'd never heard of before.
What a culture change, right? I mean, even just to go from Dublin to Midwestern United States, and then even just a little bit further south to Kentucky. Yeah.
So I'd been all over Europe. I spent the summer in Boston. I'd been to LA. Had never really felt culture shock. Landed in Terre Haute and was like, this is different.
It is very different.
So it was supposed to be a 3 to 6 month assignment. Massively coincidentally, I reconnected with some friends from Louisville that I hadn't been in touch with for like 2 years. Like the series of dominoes that fell, the serendipity, all the crazy coincidences that happened that brought me to this point. We could talk for hours. But as I was traveling to Terre Haute for the first time, pre-internet, pre-email, sent a letter, hey, remember me? Got back in touch, started coming down to Louisville on the weekends. About 3 or 4 months into my 6-month stay in Terre Haute, Pfizer asked me to stay. I ended up staying 6 years. That largely because of how much fun I was having in Louisville with friends in Louisville.
Oh, wow.
Ultimately, quit my job in Terre Haute, shaved my head, rode my motorcycle across the country.
What?
Ended up in Colorado, skied all winter, came back to Louisville for Derby and met my wife. And I'd always said if this American adventure didn't work out, it would be fun to go back to Dublin and maybe get a job making Guinness. But once I met Kim, I was like, well, I think I'll stick around Louisville for a while. This bourbon thing seems fun. And I started knocking on distillery doors in 2002 when the business was very, very different to what it is now. It wasn't quite the dead nuts bottom of it, but you could still see it from there. So ultimately, Brown-Forman hired me in 2004, and I kind of haven't looked back, and that's the short version.
So how do you make that jump from pharmaceuticals to bourbon?
From drugs to alcohol?
Yeah. How do we go from drugs to alcohol?
So chemical engineering is, I worked with a guy one time, and he said, it's all just pots and pans, which really it is. It's a process, and I always, some engineering work I've done, I've worked for companies that people have never heard of, doing work that they have no idea needs to be done, and it's kind of this soulless, lost thing back at the back, and things happen that nobody appreciate. But then I like making things. I like being part of like something that people appreciate, and what better thing than bourbon based in Louisville. So that was kind of what it was. Like I really wanted to, not just be somebody who was stamping out widgets or making paint or something. Nothing against paint makers, important, but not something I wanted to do. It wasn't my passion, as they say. And all my career in production has been based on fermentation-based stuff. And again, being in Louisville, being in Kentucky, I had, fairly recently at that time started drinking bourbon. Like, this stuff's pretty good. It just kind of, it seemed like all the parts came together, and it was like, I feel at home here.
Yeah. And so many people will tell the story of they come to their first Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
And they either meet somebody that leads to a job or they meet their future spouse.
Right.
Like that's a very
It's so
typical
Louisville.
line that
It's
I
so
hear,
Louisville,
that there's something magical about things all coming together, over a weekend of betting, drinking, and hat wearing.
Exactly. I wasn't wearing a hat, but
but
I did have shoulder length hair because after I shaved my head, and it was like this full year plus that I didn't grow it, so I had this like shoulder length wavy hair, and apparently I looked fabulous. So,
and so was that a time for you to really explore, like, what does Conor want to do?
Pretty much, and it wasn't like I am going to take time off and really explore. It was this.
It never is.
No, it was like, here's an opportunity to, quit my job and ride my motorcycle. I still have the Harley. That year was summer '96. Harley organized this ride from Milwaukee into Chicago, and then from Chicago to Santa Monica to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Route 66. So it was like, that seems like something that'd be fun.
I got time.
Exactly. And I stayed with a friend on my way through the country who lived in Colorado, just west of Vail. And she was a set dresser for the movies. And if you remember the movie The Truman Show, while I was staying with her, she got hired to be the set dresser on that. So she asked me would I house sit for her for the winter. I was like, that seems like a good option. I should do that. And then, come back to Louisville for Derby, the following spring. And I meet Kim. I was like, she seems like someone I should get to know better. And it's like these doors open. You
Very
walk through them.
serendipitous.
Yeah,
everything just came together.
Yeah.
So to arrive at Brown-Forman is no small feat.
It was not. I got there at a really good time.
That's a little bit of luck, right?
So I remember
that's
like when
also
I was,
being in the right place at the right
it
time
was.
and saying something to your resume that, they saw something in you, because to be with Brown-Forman is a very, very big deal. And what a place to learn in.
What a place to learn. I got there in 2004, left in 17. So I was there, not quite, just a hair under 14 years. And the stuff I learned, the people I met, the relationships I made, just the start they gave me was amazing. And I'm still close friends with a lot of the people I worked with. And Brown-Forman has kind of seeded the industry. There's so many, what I refer to as Brown-Forman refugees out there.
Yeah.
But if you go to almost any distillery, small, medium, large, there is somebody who trained at Brown-Forman doing cool things there.
Right. And what an opportunity for you to look at then what you bounced to Angel's Envy.
That's right.
Which is, one that was, I think, at the time, people thinking, why would you want to go to Angel's Envy?
Right.
Look what it is now.
Exactly. And again, it was one of those moments. I mean, it was, I had been with Brown-Forman 14 years, and not that I was getting tired of what I was doing, but it was kind of like, okay, I've kind of checked a lot of boxes here. What's next? And a former colleague at Brown-Forman who had left to go to Angel's Envy, Dee Ford, she runs the visitor center there, former colleague and good friend, she called and said, hey, there's this position that's getting ready to open up here, operations manager, would you be interested? I was like, I should check that out. So we had lunch, and then we toured around, and I talked to some of the people there, and classically one thing led to another. I was like, this is too good an opportunity to turn down. And Angel's Envy was still pretty small. It was tiny then, but it was owned by Bacardi, which are huge. And it was like, oh, this is a truly global organization, and a very different. I remember going down to like Jacksonville or Puerto Rico, and I was the only non-native Spanish speaker in the room. And people would, like, I'd walk in meetings and say, oh, we need to switch to English. Conor is here. I was like, oh, shit. But it was like, it was just such a mind expanding, like, wait, this is pretty cool. And then to learn about rum and see their global portfolio, it was like, again, more education, more exposure. Like, there's a lot of cool people in this industry. Yeah.
What was it about Heaven Hill that made you realize, now I'm getting called up to the big leagues? Now I'm going to the New York Yankees.
That is such a great metaphor, because so Denny Potter announced that he was leaving, and it never really crossed my mind, but he called me and said, would you be interested in this job? And my office at Angel's Envy overlooked Louisville Slugger Field. So I'm standing there looking out the window talking to Denny, and I was like, I just made a big move, like working for Bacardi. I think I'll stay where I am. And I hung up. I was like, that probably wasn't the right answer. And I went home and I told Kim, and she threw an expletive in and said that wasn't the right answer.
Right. What did she say?
She said, fucking idiot. Literally,
This is Heaven
lovingly,
Hill.
you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
That wasn't the right answer. So luckily, Denny called back and said, are you sure? And I said, we should talk. And it was literally like, I'm looking at Slugger Field thinking, the Yankees just called. And I said, no, thanks. Or if you're a Red Sox fan, the Red Sox just called, or a Dodger. So the majorest major league team called and said, we'd like to talk to you. And I said, yeah, I'm okay here in the minors. So as soon as I slapped myself about the head and shoulders, I was like, we should talk. And then it was just like, holy crap.
Was that the call where they asked you to be the master distiller?
Correct. Yeah. So, well, they asked
Those
me to
are
come in and interview.
Come in and interview, but to be asked to be the master distiller at Heaven Hill, those are enormous shoes to fill, right? Like,
right.
You're one of very few
I'm the 7th in the 90-year history of Heaven Hill. And of course, I'm following people like Denny, people even more so like Parker Beam. He was our master distiller for 46 years. And I mean, he is still revered. He died in 2017 and he's still revered within the company, across the industry. So yeah, I mean, I did an interview, one of the first interviews I did when I got this job. I was asked, what's the first thing you're going to do? And I said, the first thing I'm going to do is not fuck it up. Because I'm standing on the shoulders of people like Parker. And I've been entrusted with that legacy and at that point, 84-year legacy of Heaven Hill. I was like, okay, this is big.
How do you navigate something like that when it comes to leadership? And now, I mean, people look to you for leadership in this position now, not for you to kind of stand in the shadows and do what everybody else did. But how do you feel like you're able to kind of make your opinions known and how do people respond to that?
Winging a prayer mostly. No, I mean, I have been blessed with really good mentors through the years, really good role models. And especially since I came to Heaven Hill, I mean, the fact that we are family-owned, operated, family-led, there's a very close connection with the people who founded the business, the people who own the business, the people who've been through the ups and downs, who know intimately every person, every aspect of the business. And to be mentored by and learn from them is it's a gift that keeps on giving. And then honestly, you learn by your mistakes. I mean, I have said and done things in a leadership position that I'm not proud of, and I was like, well, let's not do that again, But it's not all smooth sailing, right?
Right. We learn.
Exactly.
I mean,
You
Heaven
hope.
Hill, they just celebrated their 90th
year. Yeah.
I'm going to pause for just a short break, coming in with that 90th year, the big year. What a big year.
Great year.
It has been,
Yeah.
but more and more is coming. Stay right here. More coming with Conor O'Driscoll. I grew up in a Ford family. My dad worked at the Louisville Ford assembly plant. And it wasn't just a brand for us, it was a way of life. And that's the thing about Ford, is that they're woven into a part of our culture here in Kentucky and across America. So no matter where life's adventures may take you, Town and Country Ford is along for the ride. And we're back with Conor O'Driscoll. He is talking about his journey to become the master distiller at the one and only Heaven Hill. Do you still kind of take a pause when people introduce you?
I do.
The master distiller of Heaven Hill. You're kind of a rock star of bourbon.
People use those phrases, and I'm like, am I? I mean, I'm still me,
Yeah.
And again, I've one of my good friends at work, Melissa. She does a really good job of keeping me humble. And one of the crazy things is, so my wife, we've mentioned her. I mean, her training is pediatric intensive care. She is currently chair of the Department of Pediatrics at U of L. So she saves children's lives. She trains people.
She's a rock star.
She is
a big deal.
We'll meet people, and what do you do? Well, this, that. I'm chair of the department. Oh, that's nice. What do you do? I make whiskey. Oh my
gosh.
God. They lose their minds. Like, simmer down, everybody. She saves children's lives. I just make whiskey. But
do your kids realize you're a big deal?
so I have one daughter. We have one daughter. She's 20. Hi, Sophie. She's in Copenhagen at the moment.
Wow.
So she was in high school when I got this job. And when I started being on podcasts and getting interviewed, she's like, wait a second, you're some sort of celebrity now?
Did her friends start seeing you on podcasts and interview
They did.
clips?
And they're like, oh, wait a second. So she thought that was kind of cool. But realistically, I mean, one of my good friends, Bernie Lubbers, he's our brand ambassador emeritus, great guy. But he uses the phrase, we're bourbon famous. So within bourbon, people know us. They think we're rock stars.
Yeah.
Outside of bourbon, no one gives a rat's ass. Yeah.
Are you like the star at Kentucky Bourbon Festival? Because that is the hub of where bourbon lovers from around the world come together. And I mean, it's a scene unlike anything I've ever seen.
It's a scene unlike any other, especially now, we were talking before about how Randy and the rest of the team have elevated to what it is now.
Yeah.
The way I kind of try to keep myself humble, I guess, in this is, they're not necessarily showing up to see Conor. They're showing up to meet the Master Distiller. And so from that point of view, it's kind of a role that I play, but I like playing it, and I've been told I'm good at playing it. And, I love talking about whiskey. I love talking about Heaven Hill, the history, the brands, the whole thing. And if that, quote, helps the business, it all works together. But it still blows me away how passionate Heaven Hill fans are. I mean, they know our portfolio. They know our history. They stand in line in September heat for 4 hours to get an allocated bottle. I've seen them lined up outside the Heaven Hill Bourbon Experience in Bardstown on a snowy, wet, cold February morning, hoping to get something unique. And I honor those people. I mean, they pay my salary.
They are loyal.
Without that passion, kind of what difference does it make? So yes, the various things, the various parts of this job to honor that passion and to meet it with the passion that me and my team have for making whiskey. I think that's kind of the crux of the job right there.
Well, since we're on the topic of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, that brings us to our Kentucky Bourbon Festival sponsored segment,
right?
Which is Cheers to You. Kentucky Bourbon Festival is getting ready to celebrate 35 years, September 10th through the 13th. Tickets go on sale in April, and they're going to go fast. So head to their website to be first in line for those tickets. So cheers to you. Looking back on one of the biggest year 90 at Heaven Hill, what is an accolade, an award, a recognition that just blew you away, that you're like, oh, we've got to celebrate this again and again and again? And I feel like you all had many, so feel free to roll out a couple. Cheers to you.
So we've won lots and lots of awards, and they are really gratifying to win. But when we look at 2025, Heaven Hill's 90th year, we were founded in 1935 by the five Shapiro brothers. Max Shapiro, executive chair, is the son of one of those founders. His daughter Kate and her husband Alan are our co-presidents. So there's a very close connection to the people who founded it. And to be part of this organization as we celebrate 90 years, that was the first, like, holy crap, to be in this place at this time. In April, we celebrated the opening of our brand new Heaven Hill Springs Distillery down in Bardstown, $200 million investment, state-of-the-art, absolutely gorgeous building. And the fact that it happened to come online in our 90th year wasn't a coincidence, but those two stars aligned. So obviously I was heavily involved in the design, the construction, the commissioning of that, along with hundreds of other people. But to see that come to fruition in our 90th year, and then to have the 90th celebration at Springs in December. So that was, to me, that was the win. That was the big deal of the year. And then to see, the press and the coverage and win the whiskey awards and all the rest of the stuff, that was kind of icing on the cake. But to be part of the team that got Heaven Hill to 90 years, that opened Heaven Hill Springs, that, we continue to succeed in what's becoming quite a challenging environment.
Yeah.
And, we're this is the beauty of being family owned and led. You know,
Do you think that's really the key to the longevity of balancing tradition with meeting the changing times? Is that you're rooted in this family that's been around so long that we're not going to veer too far from our pillars, but we're going to be nimble enough to pivot when we need to.
And we don't have to do quarterly reports to Wall Street. We're not owned by a foreign entity who may not have the roots here in Kentucky to understand the business. Like, I've been asked this before, like, what are Heaven Hill worried? And, like, you know, slightly facetiously, like, our distillery burned down in 96. We've been through worse. We've seen ups, we've seen downs. And again, when, you know, the co-presidents, the executive chair knew the founders over 90 years. I mean, if you look at Heaven Hill was founded in 1935, the middle of the Great Depression. Prohibition had just ended. As Max likes to say, his father and uncles didn't know a bottle from a box. And they got into it because they thought it would be fun, which is kind of the same reason I got into it, coincidentally. Continue to weather storms because we've got that long view. I mean, the whiskey we're making today will be in a barrel for at least 4 years. Who knows what the world will be like in 4 years? Ideally, the prognosticators say things will be more back to normal by then. So let's hope they're right. But we've been around for 90 years. We want to be around for 90 more.
Well, you all took home some big accolades with what, Whiskey of the Year?
We did, yeah. So Whiskey Advocate. They honored us with, so we brought out a barrel-proof rye whiskey. You know, we've got...
Is this what you brought me today?
That's that. So edition 1, which was brought out late last year, or the middle of last year.
We should be drinking this for the whole interview,
yeah.
shouldn't we? That's a different show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's never too early to drink good whiskey. So barrel-proof rye, part of the Elijah Craig family, brought out last year, and it won Whiskey Advocate's Whiskey of the Year, which is a huge win. And this bottle actually is the second edition, which we just brought out last month. So, and it's starting to get the early reviews. Of course, we think they're all awesome, but the early reviews on that are very, very positive.
Right. How do you continue to up your game?
Well, we've got obviously a significant legacy to rely on. We kind of know what we're doing. We're not following trends.
Is that hard though?
You know what? It's
like, wait a minute, we've got a market that's kind of like, woo, all over the place right now. People are blaming tariffs, consumption, lack of consumption. And then you hear people think, we got to do something. What are they? Kids are drinking. Young people are drinking, ready to mix this and this and this. You all don't follow trends.
We are slow followers. We stick to what we're good at, and we make great whiskey. We are at core an American whiskey company. That's what we started of. That's what's got us here. Now we've got great tequilas. We've got Lunazul and Ocho. We've got Deep Eddy vodka. We've got a huge portfolio of brands. So it's deep. The bench is deep. The bench is wide. So if people are trading down, trading up, if they want something for a special occasion, we got it. Like our tequilas are really doing well right now. But our whiskey portfolio is not, to coin a phrase, not on fire like it was during COVID. But when we look at the competitive landscape, we're still doing okay. But we've got over 2 million barrels aging. I just be
that is just an absurd number to think about.
Insane number. And they were between the Bernheim Distillery here in Louisville and Springs down in Bardstown, we have capacity to produce 600,000 barrels a year. So obviously with things slowing a little bit now, we're not at that rate, but as soon as things turn around, we're ready, and we don't have to float it up to some board in some other country. We don't have to wait till Wall Street tells us the right thing to do. We can make our decisions and not knee jerk. Like when we looked at the numbers in, again, COVID, when everything started going crazy, a lot of the competition were doing things faster than us. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if we should do that. So as things slow back down and those fad things fade quickly, we're not in the fads. We're bringing out award-winning whiskey, which is what we've always done.
Absolutely. How do you think, and what do you suggest, how do you make bourbon more accessible to the casual drinker? Maybe there are people that have never tried it. Women seem to be really getting interested in bourbon. How do you make that appealing that this is a special occasion, this is something lovely, come check us out at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
Right.
How do you appeal to that segment of the population? Maybe they're not diehard, right? They don't know much about it.
So we don't just appeal to diehards. We talked about the diehards, and thank you to all the diehards who will stand in line for the allocated stuff. But realistically, you don't need to spend half your paycheck on a bottle of whiskey. We've got umpteen brands under $50. We've got 2 times umpteen.
That's a great price point.
Under 100. You know, so if you want to spend $75 on a barrel proof, we got it. But what Heaven Hill, one of the core planks to our success, I think, has been authenticity. So we don't put a pink label on it and say, "Hey, women, it's pink. Won't you like it?" But if you've got,
don't ever do that.
Right. But we talk about what makes our whiskey great, and if you're concerned that it's high proof or it's going to be really, rough, well, we've got things like Larceny. We've got flavored whiskeys in the Evan Williams portfolio that are a softer, gentler approach. But if you really want to, I've been at pouring whiskey at events or whatever, and people come up and like, I don't really know bourbon, American. What should I try? And I will try Larceny. They're like, holy crap, that's good. It's a wheated bourbon, so rye tends to be bigger, bolder on your palate, in your mouth, and it's if you're new to American whiskey, new to bourbon, it can be a little off-putting. But wheat gives it that softer, rounder mouthfeel, so it makes it more approachable. And cocktails. I mean, we partner with some really good mixologists. Lynn House on our team is nationally renowned, probably internationally at this point, as a mixologist, and as a pair this with that to really get the flavor profile and come into the fold. But we've got, again, something for everybody, and low proof, high proof, hard to get, big bold flavor statements, softer, gentler flavor statements.
I think most people probably think you just drink all day for a living. They do.
Not all day, not every day.
You drink all day for a living, right? And you don't, because you just touched on what you're doing when you're speaking. You are speaking at a ton of events where you are the ambassador, if you will.
That's right.
For the brand. People have to feel, just talking to you now, you're so approachable that I know you're not going to intimidate me about bourbon. Do people say that to you often, that you just make it so
thank you for that.
Understandable? And as I think people don't want to get into certain things, it's like, oh, well, that's like too highfalutin for me. I'm not going to understand, or maybe I'm not smart enough to understand the complexities of what I should taste in this. You have a style about you that is authentic and very, very down to earth. Do people, when they come to your events, do they say that and wait to ask you questions after these events?
Well, one of the fun things, so I do like a lot of tastings, and maybe we're doing a barrel pick, and half of the barrel picks, there's people in them who've never tasted barrel proof whiskey before, or we're at an event, we're doing a flight of whatever it might be, and you can just look at the audience. There's people there, and they got deer in the head, deer in the headlights eyes, and I'm like, all right, before we get started, let's go through the rules of drinking whiskey. And their eyes get bigger, like, shit, there's rules to this thing.
Rules.
And all right. First rule is, are you enjoying what you're drinking? And they kind of, oh, well, that's easy. I can do that. And they all relax a little bit. All right. Second rule, there is no second rule. We make it to enjoy it. That's the point. It's friends, family, sitting down, sharing a cocktail. What's better for your health than having a good time with your friends?
Amen.
Yeah. And if we can be part of that experience, great. So then everybody laughs and relaxes and gets into it. But if you can taste the marzipan or the tobacco or the cinnamon, that's really good fun. And it's a learned skill. And if you want to get good at it, practice makes perfect. So you don't have to drink every day. But a fun way to do it is, so if you get a bottle of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Rye and you like it, and you're like, well, what am I tasting here? Pull up some of the reviews, and we've got some tasting notes on our webpage. Go to any of the good sites, and they'll have people who write paragraphs about what they taste in the whiskey. You're like, do I taste that? Because the hard part is putting the adjective to it. So
exactly.
Like, oh, I taste this. What does this taste like? Is it? And it might be your grandmother's apple pie, which is not my grandmother's apple pie. My grandmother wasn't a very good cook. my mom's apple pie, which is different. So what you taste is not necessarily what I taste. It's a very personal thing. But
did you discover, now being the master distiller at Heaven Hill, that you have a sophisticated palate?
I have a decent palate that I have learned to. I have developed a palate. It's a learned skill.
Yeah.
I mean,
like most people, they make it sound like this is the God-given gift that I can taste 15 different layers.
There are people who are better tasters. Women generally are better tasters than men.
Yeah.
On our team, Tawny Goatee is our master taster. She's incredible. She can literally like pick a batch up, smell it, like, yes, that's Elijah Craig.
Whoa.
Wow. So I can't do that. When the brand teams give me samples to write tasting notes on, it's kind of like, okay, buckle down. I'll sit at the kitchen table. Don't disturb me. I got to focus on this. I got to concentrate. Right. And I got to, what am I tasting? What am I tasting? And you're going to go through the Rolodex of, is this nutmeg? No. It's more, oh, cinnamon? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, cinnamon. And how many ways can you say, barrel char, oak, whatever? Ultimately, butterscotch, vanilla, honey, they're all there. And then some of them, like it's a fun almost game to play. Like, what can I taste in here?
So controversial question.
Yeah, dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Do you have favorite children in the portfolio? Can you narrow down your favorites?
You know what? It's very situational dependent.
Seriously.
So. I mean,
like if you're skiing, you prefer this. If you are on the beach, you prefer this.
No, it's more like if I get home and I just want a cocktail.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to get something super rare, super allocated, super high proof. It's probably going to be Elijah Craig. It might be Larceny. Just something chill, relax. Evan Williams is kind of a really good daily drinker. If I'm treating myself, maybe one of the barrel proofs. Pikesville Rye is kind of that one that's like, all right, I need a gold star moment here. But Pikesville Rye, 6 years old, 110 proof, it's delicious. But it's I'm spoiled for choice, and it's
depends on the situation.
It depends on the moment. Like I'll look at I got so much whiskey stashed around the house at home, and like, let's see, that looks interesting. Yeah, I'll try that.
So final question for you. What was the best bet that you ever took on yourself in life and everything?
So when you sent the questions over beforehand, like, what was the best bet I ever made? And I'm not.
Because it's often the path that, it's often the turn that you take that you don't expect to turn out. I mean,
but as we started the conversation with all these like little dominoes that fell over that brought me here. So literally I was brushing my teeth this morning thinking about this, and it popped in my head that I'd never made a one big bet, but I think I just kept parlaying the bet.
Nice.
So I had the show pool going, I guess.
Yeah, you did.
But like when I was with Pfizer in Ireland, and are you interested in going to Terre Haute, Indiana? I was like, sure. Where? Like, all right, that seems fun. I came over here.
I have no idea where that is or what I'm going to do there. Let's go.
I pulled out one of my dad's National Geographic maps.
Yeah.
It was like, there it is. Oh, okay. And then when they asked me to stay, so I came down to Louisville. They asked me to stay permanently. After about 4 months, I came down to Louisville. It was September. We went down to Dale Hollow and just had the most wonderful late summer weekend on a Kentucky lake. I was driving back to Terre Haute, stay or go. And I said, I'd stick around as long as it was fun. So there was another little, cash that ticket in and play it forward. And then, the motorcycle ride, the ski trip, meeting Kim, deciding to get in the bourbon industry with Brown-Forman at that point. And the pot keeps growing.
Keeps on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this.
You're welcome. Enjoy it.
Thank you so
Remember,
much.
we make it to drink it.
We make it to drink it. I can't just stick it on my shelf.
Well, you can if you want, but we prefer if you drank it.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
So
Great conversation.
So much fun. I can't believe time's over already.
I know.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you so much for watching the podcast. No matter where you're watching this right now, please leave a review because that gets the word out about this particular podcast. So until next week, have a good one, everybody. Cheers.